And welcome to 2025 and the very first Simply Stogies After Dark, our once a month live show where our LE Club members can jump on, talk to us, talk to any guests we have. And it's our only two cigar show as well. If you want to join the LE Club, join the conversation, sway the conversation, talk about what you want to talk about. You're more than welcome to do so. All you need to do is go to simplystogies.com, click the register at the top, the LE Club at the top, register, $10 a month, $100 a year. Not only are you supporting a small podcast, but you also have a say in what we talk about. We take your feedback very seriously. So I want to thank all of our supporters last year in the LE Club. We had a banner year with our supporters. And so I want to thank them for all their support and their continued support. We haven't lost any. So if you want to join the ranks, go to simplystogies.com, join that LE Club. Top right corner, $10 a month, $100 a year. That is the minimum bar of entry. Before we get to the co-host and our LE Club members that are here, and we have a guest tonight. It's going to be Steve Houston from the Dogs of War podcast, which is a great podcast. If you haven't listened, you need to listen. We'll get into that shortly. But before we do, I want to talk just a little bit about our sponsor. This episode of Simply Stogies After Dark is brought to you by Lure Cigars, and the number 4 cigar on the Simply Stogies top 10 list of 2024, the Mean Gene. This is a 6x52 box pressed Toro Habano 2000 wrapper over an Ometepe binder and Ometepe fillers, along with other fillers from Nicaragua. This is I'm going to be smoking this in our second hour when we talk about the top 10 tonight. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. But this cigar from Lure Cigars, it was an amazing cigar. I think this is the smallest manufacturer we've ever had in the top 10. Of course, this is only our second year doing the top 10, but it is still noteworthy. This cigar blew us away. Full disclosure, didn't want to put it on the top 10 list because it would look bad because he's a sponsor. I was vetoed. I was outvoted. I was voted off the island, and for good reason. This cigar is absolutely amazing. If you have not tried the Mean Gene, you need to go to lurecigars.com and find out where your nearest retailer is. And you know what? Why don't you just walk into your B&M, your local B&M, your retailer at home, and say, God damn it, carry Lure Cigars. What are you waiting on? An engraved invitation? Show them this video. This is their invitation to get a hold of Lou at Lure Cigars and carry Lure Cigars. Smoke great cigars and tell tall tales. Lure Cigars. This episode of Simply Stogies After Dark is also brought to you by smallbatchcigar.com. And when we talk about smallbatchcigar.com, I need to bring in my co-host for this show, Tim Allen. Tim, welcome to the show. Tim, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever walked into a shop and been like, where do they get these great cigars?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All the time.
Yeah. Are you ever jealous of like what they have? And like, you're like, well, all I have is like the bullshit that they had in the humidor. Is that
happens to me all the time?
All the time, right? That's because you don't shop at smallbatchcigar.com. Go to smallbatchcigar.com. Use coupon code Stogies. That's going to come up here in just a second. As soon as Tim stops screwing around, he puts that banner on the bottom, like a good producer should. There it is right there. You're going to get 10% off, bonus 5% reward points. Always free shipping. And you're never going to have cigar envy. You're never, like, I don't know how important that is to most cigar smokers, but to me, it's very important. I don't ever want to be smoking, I don't know. I don't want to, disparage any companies. We'll call this imaginary company a Burka. I don't want to ever smoke a Burka. And somebody walks in with like this great Davidoff cigar, or a Stolen Throne, or a Blackbird. I never want that to happen. I don't want to be the odd man out. So you know what I do? I go to smallbatchcigar.com. That's where you go. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. Use coupon code Stogies. 10% off your order. Bonus 5% reward points. Always free shipping, and you won't be left out. Bank those reward points now. Use them later on in the year because your spouse will fuck up your Christmas gift, your Thanksgiving gift. Just use them in December. Bank them for the year, and then get yourself something nice. Smallbatchcigar.com. Tim, welcome back to Simple Stogies After Dark. Happy New Year to you. How was your Christmas and New Year?
Happy New Year to you. It was good. It was very relaxing. I enjoyed the time, and we even got to hang out off of the air or off the camera, smoke a few cigars.
We did.
Because I wanted to come on and be like, oh, long time no see, even though it's only been a month. But
well, that was my Christmas gift to you.
Unfortunately.
That was my Christmas gift to you, was hanging out.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's the shittiest gift I could give you.
Yeah. You outdo yourself every year.
Every year. I do. I'm glad you had a good Christmas. I had holiday season. We got some great stuff coming up later on in the year. Our next guest is going to be, we just had Sean Williams on from Cohiba. Check that episode out. That was a great conversation with Sean Williams about General, about STG, about boutique versus mainstream versus boutique, however you want to frame that question. It was a great conversation, and we talk about him behind his back next week in Clear the Air. That was fun to do as well. And then January 15th, we'll have Michael Herklotz from Ferio Tego.
That'll be a good one.
I mean, we're starting the 2025 off right with bangs, nothing but bangers. And we got another banger for you tonight. Like I said, we've got Stephen Houston from Dogs of War podcast. I want to talk about that. He's very passionate about dogs, about veterans, about cigars, a whole plethora of things that I want to talk with him about. But before we do, I think we should light up a cigar, Tim.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah,
now,
here.
Now, before we do it, there's something we have to do. I'm trying to remember just exactly what. Oh, that's right. You can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. Brought to you by blackbirdcigar.com. Blackbird Cigar Company. Can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. Look, if you want to try a Blackbird cigar, there's no better way to do it than go to smallbatchcigar.com. And may I recommend the Wren. The Wren is a Mexican San Andreas wrapped cigar with Dominican binder and Corojo and Criollo 98 and Olor fillers, a medium plus profile, and this cigar is just straight fire. Is that what the kids still call it fire?
I have no idea.
You don't have kids. I think fire. Blackbird Cigar Company. I'm telling you, the Wren, check it out. You can check out their core line as well. You can get it all at smallbatchcigar.com. A great lineup from them. So let me introduce our guest first. Then we'll bring in all of our LE Club members that are waiting patiently in the wings from Dogs of War podcast. It is Steve Houston. Steven, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
No, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time, especially first week of January. You probably just are you hungover still from New Year's or?
No, New Year's was a 1 year sober for me, so no hangovers in my life anymore. And
congratulations.
Yeah. Yep, just getting ready. I got a trip to Florida next week, family trip. Not so much a vacation, but gonna get some time to go see all my family. So
nice. That'll be fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, to an extent. I'd rather be laying on a beach somewhere smoking stoves, but it's fine. I got to go see my family's getting older, and got to cherish the time that I can take to go see them. So
yeah, no, I 100%. I totally understand that. I just want to make sure that people know you're not smoking tonight because you're in your studio right now.
I'm in my wood shop.
Yeah, in the wood shop where you record your podcast, and your podcast is different than ours. I'll look and see. We're going to get into the guitar thing too. Your podcast is what we used to be, which is just audio only.
Right.
So you're not set up where you can smoke or do anything like that. But I want to make sure people know that. And if you can stick around for the second hour, I think you said you were going to go to your truck, maybe, depending on how cold it is there where you're at, and share a cigar with us for the second hour. But we're going to get to what Tim and I are smoking here in just a second. But first, let's introduce a couple of our LE Club members sitting in the green room, if you will. It's Lou Cross from Lure Cigars. Lou, how you doing, buddy? Happy New Year.
Hey, I'm doing great. Happy New Year to you guys.
You're not going to burn the house down back there with that.
No, it's good.
On fire. Jesus Christ. I feel like it's right next to the siding, and every time I watch you on somebody else's podcast, I'm like, holy shit, he's going to burn the house down.
No, it's out.
I was
It's
like,
out
do you
away
need a
from the-
permit for that?
Yeah, it's all good. It's
Like
just
a
a
oil
little
refinery.
ambiance. Little ambiance. That's all.
What are you smoking tonight, Lou?
I'm smoking the Decimo to start the night here.
Mm.
Nice. That is a
So-
great cigar. Number 2 on our list. We'll talk about our top 10
Yep.
list a little bit later tonight. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Lots to talk about. Great cigar. Let's introduce next. It looks like we got Brian and Shauna Bolin from Smoldering Cigar in Livermore, Iowa. There's Brian.
Hey, how's it
There's
going?
one half. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome.
That's good. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all.
What are you smoking, Brian?
LH's new anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. There's another good one.
That is a banger. That's all. Where's your better half?
She is on the phone. We had customers call. So
No, well, I mean, duty calls. Duty calls.
Yeah.
Tim, what are you smoking?
You know what? New Year's resolution. I have some cigars that have been in my humidor for a very long time, since about the time you and I met, James. And I need to smoke through them. So tonight, to start off, it's going to be a CAO Nicaragua.
Oh,
it's not the Potomac?
It's not the Potomac.
It's not the Potomac. No, this is one I can actually pronounce.
So for those who don't know, Tim did a review a long time ago on the Potomac, and him being in the National Guard in the Army.
You would think.
You would
yeah.
think he would know what the Potomac was. Unfortunately, he did the entire review and just called it the Potomac.
Well, no, in fairness, my review was written. Oh, wait, no, that was an actual audio. Oh, dang.
Yeah, that was fun.
I just need to give up. But you guys, you know what? You guys give me grief for that, and I'll take it. I love it. At least you guys give me attention, because if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for
Nothing.
negative reinforcement, you'd have no attention at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably
I love it
fair.
here.
Negative
Just
reinforcement, huh?
Mhm.
reinforcement is the best way to train somebody, I found, and it works very well with Tim. Very well with Tim. I am smoking. Thanks for asking, Tim.
Didn't care.
Padron 1964, a little petite
Atta boy.
Gusto. Now here's why I'm smoking it. This is or was your favorite brand. Is that right, Steven? Like you're a Padron head.
Yeah. There's a lot better cigars, and I've kind of grown to expand my portfolio drastically, but Padron is always going to hold a place near and dear to my heart. It's old trusty, old trustworthy, and yeah, man, you can't go wrong with the Padron, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. I think a
No.
Padron's always solid. It's a solid cigar. You know what? What's funny is you haven't really been. How long have you been smoking? Let's start there. How many years have you been smoking cigars?
On and off since, I would say on and off since 2006, but daily, like multiple cigars a day, probably, I don't know, about 4 years now. I would say 4 years. We've been in our house now for 4 years, and I've had a humidor, but before that, it was more sporadic and random. So I would, on the daily train, definitely about 4 years.
That's not. That's pretty good. I'm about there. I'm about 6 years, 7 years
Oh, wow.
now, where I smoke every day. Like when I was a kid, my dad would bring cigars back from wherever he was, whether it was Cuba or the Dominican or wherever, Canada. He'd bring stuff back and I'd smoke it every now and again because I used to smoke cigarettes. But when, about 7 years ago, we brought our daughter home, and Daddy needed time away from screaming child. And this was it.
I've got a
me
picture.
the most time away.
I've got a picture from 2007 in Iraq, in Husayba, Iraq, with a stogie in my mouth. I actually had a little travel humidor and no humidification, nothing. Just took, some cigars with me. But it's definitely grown into a passion for sure.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has, and you've turned that passion into a podcast because you have several passions. Really, I mean, let's talk about the podcast, Dogs of War. I listened to your episode with Pete Johnson, and what struck me is you didn't talk about cigars for the longest time. Yes, you mentioned Tatawahe, obviously you mentioned, but you talked guitars, you talked music, you talked dogs, like you talked about everything but cigars for the longest time. because you both share those passions of guitars, and you make guitars. With people were watching earlier. You kind of swung your camera around. You're there in your wood shop. Talk about how Dogs of War podcast came about.
Well, in the beginning, so I've been doing it. September this year will be 5 years, but we just crested our 4th season. Honestly, the reason that it started, I got tired of getting the phone call that one of my Marine buddies or whatever committed suicide or OD'd on drugs, and there's a lot of trauma and like terrible things that go along with war service. And my thinking is I'm not a wealthy person yet. That's a goal in the future. And, but my way of kind of helping and giving back is to give a platform to people that have crazy stories or even just normal stories, and talk about the problems that they had and the things that they did to heal. Right. So that way, somebody listening is like, man, this guy's going through that, and he did something similar to me, and he's a tough guy like me, a man's man or whatever, but he went to therapy or he did psychedelic treatment or X, Y, or Z, and in the hopes that somebody listening would hear that and benefit from it and maybe get themselves out of a dark hole. That's purely the basis of how it started.
So you started as kind of to shine a light on the mental health of veterans. Yes. And kind of what they go through when they come back. I think that's something that most of us here can kind of relate to. I know a lot of my friends were in the service. I am not a young man anymore, but when I was young, like all of my friends were in the military, one branch or another, and so to watch them come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, it was hard. A lot of them had a lot of problems transitioning into civilian life. And so I love that you did that. And I definitely want to talk about that and kind of, some of the things that you've done and kind of help shine a light on, but you kind of, it's kind of, the ball has moved. The bar has moved a little bit. The line has moved a little bit. It's not just a podcast about that. While you certainly still talk about that, you also talk about your other passions. And you talk about them with all of your guests. And when you have Pete Johnson from Tatawai on your show, I like to think you've probably made it as like cigar media. Like that's a pretty big get. Now he's a great guy, and I was shocked when he came on this show the first time.
Right.
And then I was even more shocked when he came on a second time, especially because I wasn't hosting. I was traveling. And Tim and Nick had to do it, and Tim did a great job. Nick did a great job. Nick forgot Tim was there.
That's true.
It was true, and that was hilarious because Pete had to be like, "Who's this guy? He's supposed to be here." So you've kind of transitioned this podcast into something that kind of encompasses all of your passions, and I think a lot of cigar smokers will get a lot out of it. Talk about how, like, what the thought process was to move that line a little bit and kind of open up your conversation to different things.
Well, I did the veteran thing for a long time, and I still will. I still will have veterans on, and I'm a dog trainer, and I work with pets to police dogs. I'm one of those knuckleheads that puts the bite suit on and gets the shit beat out. Are we allowed to cuss on here? Sorry.
Yeah. You can talk.
It's too late now.
Have at it.
Get the shit beat out of you in a bite suit. And, I think that's fun. I spend money and drive across the country to do that, to learn and do that kind of stuff. So I started having canine handlers and trainers of note on the podcast. And then, recently I'm one of those people, like, I don't know. I don't know if like I'm autistic or something, but like when I get into something, like I really, really get into it. Like, the whole guitar building thing. Like if you could see, and I can show you guys as we get a little bit further along, but like I've got pieces of wood in here that are like the size of a guitar, but there's like once in a lifetime things that are like $1,000 for this piece of wood. And like, so I kind of go all in. I jump in with both feet. And as my love for cigars and my palate, more importantly, have developed over the last few years, I just like talking about things that I'm interested in. Like if you could have heard Pete and I, like we probably talked for like 40 minutes before I even hit record, and with him, I kind of get like, he kind of, not that he's bored about talking about cigars on podcasts for a long time. Obviously it's a passion for him, but like, I just wanted to do it a little bit different, man. And I know he's a musician and I know he's a dog guy, and I'm both of those things as well. So my kind of goal and metamorphosis into doing the cigar kind of media side of the house is like, I just want to do it a little bit different, and kind of have a different angle on it. I don't want to just come on here and smoke a cigar and talk about how it tastes. I don't want to replicate a cigar shop conversation. I want to talk about things and learn about things from each guest that I'm genuinely interested in. And that's kind of like my angle.
Yeah, no, I always say I'm the dumbest guy in the room. I want to know more about our guests. I want to know more about people in the industry. What I don't know about, probably a lot of things would fill a library, but especially cigars. So I think that's cool that you do it that way. And that's not an uncommon thing, I don't think, anymore in the realm of podcasts. You got guys like Joe Rogan who have made a multi-billion-dollar career out of doing that, right? Being the dumbest guy in the room and just be like, feed me the information that you believe, right? On a whole wide range of topics. Like, you're the subject matter expert of X. I don't care. Let's talk about ABC instead of X. We'll get to X, but let's talk ABC. And you do that. You do a really good job of that, because you get these guys talking about their passions outside of tobacco, outside of cigars. And so you're able to learn a lot more of them. You've been around 4 years now. You just did over 100 episodes. I think you're on what, 101, 102?
I'm about to release, I think I'll be coming up on 102. I just had Oliver from United Cigars on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is, out of all of these interviews that you've done with these folks, what is the wildest story that someone has told you? Because you talk about a whole, like I said, a whole plethora, litany of different things. What's the wildest thing that someone's been like, oh, do I have a story for you?
All right, I'll give you two. I'll give you one of my own personal ones, and I'll give you one from Will Chesney. So Will Chesney he was a Navy SEAL. He was a dog handler, and he was on the Osama bin Laden raid. And I actually named my Malinois. So I have the Belgian Malinois. It's spelled Malinois, but they're basically like German Shepherds on crack. And his dog's name is Cairo, or was Cairo, and that's what I named my dog. And the spelling's a little bit different. But anyways, he was on, and he kind of outlined the whole story about the raid. And I kind of was, military guys, like I did with the first night. I asked if you were an officer, and we kind of jabbed each other a little bit. Well, I kind of hit Will with the hey, you guys are like the most elite team in the world, but nobody brought like a measuring tape to like verify Osama's height, and he's like, yeah, we had to have one of our tall guys lay down next to him because he's like, somebody didn't have a face anymore. And it was just pretty wild. And we actually recorded on 9/11, which was really dope in my opinion. And for me, that was a good one. Because I have a really good ability at getting people to come out of their shells. And I was told he was usually kind of a harder interview. And people were texting me afterwards, like, man, good job with Will. And that's just a story that needs to be told, man. That's why I joined the military, 9/11, and then come full circle, like years later, I'm talking with one of the dudes that was on the raid that got bin Laden. I mean, it was just wild. And then, I'll tell you guys a funny story. So on my first deployment, we were in Iraq, and we did these, they called them snap vehicle checkpoints. So we go out and you set the trucks up facing, in a 360 degree coverage, and we would stop any vehicle that came through and we would search it. And we must've been out there. It was like the middle of the night. It was cold. No, it was warm. This was summertime, and it was just boring. And I was in the turret. So you're basically standing in a hole in the roof. I mean, there's armor, there's a machine gun. And I think I had stolen like a weightlifting bench from the gym that they had on one of the bases to like clip in and sit down on. Nice. And yeah. And it's hot, and like you're bobbing for cock because you're tired and you're just trying to stay awake. And I must have sat there I must have sat there. We must have sat there for like 4 hours. And anyways, I had to take a dump. And sometimes when you're overseas, when you got to poop, like those are kind of like can be serious poops, you know, whether you've ingested some kind of water back to you. Sometimes you just never know. So
MREs.
yeah, MREs have the opposite effect on me. They kind of clog you up a little bit.
Yep.
But like the water can be a little sketchy, you know. But I had to go to the bathroom, so I asked the lieutenant happened to be in my truck, and I was like, "Hey, sir, I got to take a dump." And he's like, "Well, take Doc and go in one of these buildings." There was like some kind of blown up looking abandoned type, but not buildings. And me and him go, you know, we're kind of clearing our way, and we go up to the top, and this is at nighttime. It's late, like nobody's moving. It's dark. It's boring, and like the walls were like a parapet, so I like had to shimmy over, and I pulled my pants and underwear down, and I hung my ass off the wall, you know, and I'm starting to poop, man. And I can hear it like smacking the ground. And all of a sudden I hear this giggling, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I look behind me, and so Iraqis during the summer, a lot of people will sleep on their roofs because it's so hot. Dude, this whole Iraqi family, like literally watched my butthole flex open, poop coming out, like completely vulnerable. I mean, I was mortified. Dude. It was pretty wild. Sorry.
That's the first here at Simply Stogies.
There you go.
Oh,
I mean, Tim,
there was some phrases in there that I didn't even know.
Oh,
Thank
God.
you.
Yeah, no, so how long holy shit, how long did you serve, my man?
I just did 4. I did 4 and got out. And you know, I if you can't tell, I'm kind of like you know, I like to have fun, and sometimes I can get in a little bit of trouble, and I kind of had a chip on my shoulder towards the end, you know, in my opinion, rightfully so. But looking back, you know, it was like a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid. Could I have done it different? Yes. But my like later command towards the end, they're the type that wanted to do paperwork on you for every little thing. And once you get a target on your back, like they gun for you. And I kind of wish I had a mentor that would have pulled me aside and like grabbed me by the head or taken me in the tree line and slapped the shit out of me and just been like, dude, like it sucks. Everybody goes through this. Just hang in there. But I didn't, and I ended up getting out. So I did 4 years. I did 2 deployments, and then, 2, and then I got out.
And you wish you would have stayed in for more?
Yeah, I have a lot of, I've kind of worked through it, but my unit was deploying to Afghanistan as I was getting out. And when we were deploying as my first deployment to Iraq, our senior guys were able to extend for like a year and not sign a 4-year re-enlistment thing. They could just say, we're going to extend, go on the deployment, come back and get out. I tried to do that. And this was during Obama's like downsizing of the military, and they wouldn't let us do that. And they ended up going back to Afghanistan, or going to Afghanistan, excuse me. And dude, they were murking people. Like the sniper battalion, or the sniper platoon from my unit was like just slaying terrorists and setting like new battlefield procedures because they were using tanks in conjunction with the sniper. They were just murking people. And then so a couple of my really close friends ended up passing away, getting killed on that deployment, killed in action. One of my new guys, he's not a new guy, obviously, then, but he was the generation after me, was a double above the knee, I believe, amputee. And a couple other guys got shot. And I was just like sitting at home in a recliner, working some bullshit job, drinking myself to sleep, just waiting for these horrible phone calls every day. And you know, there's a survivor's guilt component that goes along with that. But yeah, if I could have gone with them, I would, you know, I really wish I could have.
That makes sense. I remember being angry after 9/11, like very angry. I was 25, I think, at the time. And I was just very like, why? What the fuck? Like, what can I do? I couldn't join the military. I couldn't do anything like that. So I just was angry.
Punching holes in the wall.
Not even that angry. I was like, I had to go to work. I think I've told this story before, but this is like how stupid it was at home after 9/11. Probably everybody remembers, but I worked security, loss prevention for a company, and somebody left their book bag. Somebody came in and left their book bag in the vestibule. And we're all watching the big TV at the back. That kind of gives away who I was working for. The big TV in the back, watching the towers fall and all that. And I turned around. There's this book bag, and I'll never forget. The inventory manager comes over. Oh, we need to call 911. We need to get the cops out here. There's a book bag. I'm like, the kid just left it, probably because he was afraid we'd look at him weird, because it's like what's going on the news. And so they're calling the cops and trying to get everybody out there. And I'm just like shaking my head. And then this like 15-year-old kid comes out and gets his bag, and I'm like, hey man, that's your bag? He's like, yeah. I'm like, maybe just take it with you from now on. He's like, yeah, I didn't think you guys would like that. I'm like, probably better than just leave it there. And then he had to wait for the cops, and it was just, and I'm like, why are people stupid? Like, people are just dumb. But yeah, no, I guess I understand where you're coming from. So you come back, and that becomes a big passion for you. So how did you get involved with dogs then? From the military, and you come back, how did you get involved with dogs and get this passion for dogs?
Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen like the service dogs for veterans type kind of push. And there was like a really big wave of, hey, like, let's get these guys service dogs, yada, yada. And I ended up getting a dog and trained him to be a service animal. And we both competed and trained in what's called Schutzhund, or now it's called IGP in America. But Schutzhund is a German dog sport where there's protection, so the biting, tracking, meaning they'll lay a track through grass through however far, and they'll age it for however long, and then your dog has to find it and then down and indicate on an article that's real tiny, like a metal washer. And then the third phase is obedience, off leash obedience. Can't even have a collar on your dog. And I had a childhood friend that lived in the same town that I am from, and he had 2 German Shepherds, and him and his wife went to this club every Saturday, and I just kind of started going. And of course, they were like, hey, you want to catch some dogs? So I started wearing the sleeve and helping, and they definitely hazed the shit out of me the first time. And they told me that I said, I'm not afraid of these dogs. And I don't think I would say that, because I'm still terrified of these dogs, but they put me in a bite suit top with a very experienced, like ginormous, way over breed standard weight German Shepherd, fucking massive, and not fat, huge.
I feel like on steroids.
The owner was on steroids. He's a prick. But, so they were like, run away, or they go, you're going to do a left tricep bite. And I'm like, well, how the hell do I do that? And they're like, just run away and lift your arm up. So we were in this building and rubber floors, and it was raining and we couldn't be out in the grass or something. And I just ran away, and I didn't have pants on. I only had a bite suit top on. Looking back, that's stupid as shit. My dog would absolutely bite you in the legs if something happened and he couldn't like get to your arm or something. He would find something that he could bite. And so never again. I'm always wearing the full suit. But anyways, I run away, I lift my arm. The dog nails me in the center of the back between my shoulder blades. And if you know how dogs bite, like he couldn't really grip any material back there. So thank God he didn't relocate. My dog would have relocated, but he tried to grab me in the back, couldn't do it. The guy stopped the dog with the leash, and then we reset and we did it again. And when I say they left this dog on me for like 10 or 15 minutes, they left the dog on my tricep for 10 or 15 minutes, just mauling me, dude. And like at the end of it, I was on my hands and knees crawling. They're like, crawl away. And the dog's still on me. And like, I was literally crying tears from the pain. I mean, I got my ass beat by this dog. Normally a dog bites you, it's on you for like a minute max, maybe, depending on what you're training. It could obviously go longer, but it's usually quick. And if you wear a different, like my bite suit is made, I had to take like 60 measurements from my body, and they custom make everything, right? So remember I said the owner was on steroids. Yeah. So my arms are a lot smaller than his. So like you can get pinched in there. You ever get the chinchilla pinch where like your kid pinches you? Dude, times a million, because it's a dog and their grip strength is so strong. My entire arm was black and purple. I could show you pictures. And it literally took a dot, like a circle of ink out of my tattoo. It was plastic. It felt like plastic for like 2 months, and then it just fell out. And that's kind of how I got my start. And I kept showing back up every weekend. And
wait, why would you show up after that? That's I think
I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. I'm like, well, it must be how it is. It sucks, but it's fun, you know.
Like,
and
fuck you guys, I'm out.
It's fun.
That's right.
yeah. Well, you know, I was a Marine infantry guy, so like it takes a lot to get my blood flowing and the adrenaline like it used to, and that's one of the ways. Maybe fun's not the right word, but like it's kind of like rock climbing, and when you take a fall, you get your heart going, and it's something that just gets you going, you know. Normally it's not like that.
That is such a Marine answer.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, I know, like
Yeah.
I said, I know everybody. I know people in every branch of the military. That is a Marine answer.
Hold on. Let me see. If I can get,
let's see if we can get you up here.
let me see. It's hard to. This camera sucks.
Jesus.
But like that's where the whole that's
my
not
God.
that you can't really. I'll send it to you. You can't really see it, but my arm's purple. That's not a penetration. He didn't like do that through the bite
It
suit.
was just a pinch.
That's from the pinch. Yeah. And then I get done, and my buddy was like, "You didn't have a gauntlet on?" I'm like, "What the fuck's a gauntlet?" And like I have them now. They're like neoprene. They're like wetsuit sleeves that go from your wrist to here. You put those on under the bite jacket, and it spreads it out, and you don't get the pain. And that's how you're able to do it now for so long. You know.
Is Josephus comedy? Is he right? You were just chasing the dragon after that. Like it was such a. Because look, I you know, people who get tattoos, right? You have a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
They're not like, it's not a picnic to get a fucking tattoo.
No.
But it's that pain that keeps you coming back, right?
That's
like,
part of it.
Is that what it?
Yeah, like I got like I mean it's hard to tell, but like I'm pretty covered, and like
Nice.
you know,
That's the first time we've had nipples on the show.
I'm a little overweight right now, so don't judge me. But the pain thing's definitely part of it, man. I don't know what it is, like, because after like the first 20-30 minutes, you kind of like settle in and you get like an endorphin rush, and you're just like super calm. And you know, I don't know, maybe there is something with that. I've never really thought about it, but yeah, it would make sense. It would totally make sense.
So you find this passion for the dogs and what they do, and you keep going back week after week after week. And now, like, you're to the point you were telling us, like, you showed us your refrigerator when we talked. We talked with Steven a couple of weeks ago just to kind of get to know him a little bit and see if he even wanted to come on, you know, our small little podcast. And it was a great conversation, but you showed us your refrigerator. Like, you've gone like nuts. All in, like you said, like it's both feet, right? You just jumped in head first. You did that with cigars. And you've done this with dogs now as well, because you make them food, or you get them like raw food. You make sure that it's the best food. I heard the conversation you had with Pete Johnson about dog food. Like you really, it's not just that you love training these dogs. It's that you really just love these dogs.
Yeah. My last dog, really, like, that dog was with me through like a divorce. So my ex-wife cheated on me when I was overseas and took a bunch of money from me. Super common in the military.
Very.
He went through 2 or 3 like really hard breakups with me. Fucking moved to like 3 or 4 different places. Like, was with me through dark times. He never ever called in sick. Never was like, no, I don't want to help. I don't want to go. You know. And I lost him at 7 years old to cancer. And I was, when I say he was my service, that dog had more stamps in his passport than my family has passports. And I was feeding him Purina because that's what everybody at the dog club did. Yeah. And like, that is terrible, terrible food. And like, the fact that we could just tweak some things and maybe buy a couple less cigars every month and spend a couple $100 in dog food, you can like double your dog's life. And if you think about it, dogs are descendants from wolves, right? Even though they're very different, their DNA is not. They're very, very similar. The way they learn, the way they, do things. In the wild, wolves don't kill the elk and then take it and mix it with soy and pea protein and synthetic vitamins and then cook it at 1,000 degrees and then eat it. They eat it all raw, and they eat the stomach contents, which usually might have some fermented, protein, or not proteins, but veggies and produce and stuff in there. And I got super passionate about it and kind of realized, kind of like our food industry and our pharma industry, it's not designed to help people or to cure people. And when you couple that,
you're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, I have zero filter, so you might have
No,
to
you're
beat
good.
me
You're
up.
good.
But the vet system in America, man, they're killing our dogs. Like 20 years ago, my grandparents' dogs had dogs live to be 18, 20 years old, and they fed them dog food from Walmart and table scraps, and they never went to the vet. Now everybody goes to the vet multiple times a year, and they're feeding all these Gucci kibbles, and their dogs all get cancer. So to me, my passion for dogs, like I want my dog to be around. I don't want to lose him at 7 years old. That's a lot of time and effort devoted to training and building him. And I don't just keep dogs like as something that just lays in the floor. Like my dog has a job. My dog's purpose in life is to go towards a threat and protect my family so that I can get to a tool to better defend us. And, so he has to earn his keep, man. He has to earn his keep, and good food, avoiding the vet, being natural, in my opinion, is the way to go. And that's another reason why I share that to so many people, because most people don't even realize,
Yeah, no, you
Wow.
you treat your dog like a family member, and you make sure that they're taken care of because they're going to take care of you. I guess my question to you is, what do you do when your dog is a dick?
In what
Asking-
way?
Well,
Like,
he's-
my dog's a dick.
What?
my dog's a dick too, but not like your dog. Like your dog will kill someone because he's a dick.
Yeah.
My dog's just a dick. Lays around, and then he wants to be annoying at the least opportune time. When you take him for a walk, he wants to pull your arm out of a socket. He wants to jump at cars because that's healthy.
I got you.
Well, his dog is trained, so his
Yeah, no.
dog don't act like that.
Thanks, Shauna.
Well, you know what you control, which is a very powerful thing to a dog, is his hunger. So, if you want to be a dick, you're going to be hungry for a little bit. And then you're going to learn to eat your food from my hands by not being a dick. I'm going to pay you your meals from my hands for not being a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like we realize, like, you give your dog the magic metal bowl in the corner of the room twice a day that he gets his sustenance from. No, sir. We're going to skip that for a few days. Then we're going to have, we're going to do some training, and you're going to earn your food. I'll feed you. I'll keep you alive, but you're going to do it for paying attention to me and doing what I tell you to do. And then, obviously the leash pulling stuff, like I'm a prong collar guy. Or a pinch collar. I don't use chokes. Most people use a normal leash. Dogs have a reflex where if you pull on the leash, when they start pulling, they pull harder, right? Yeah. So most people don't know to keep the leash completely loose. A, B, dog wants to pull because he's like, I want to go to the third bush up on the left, smell the second row of tree branches, and then they drag you there, and you just follow behind them, and they learn that that's how they get to where they want to go. Right. So if a dog starts pulling me, I go the other way. And with a combination of a prong collar and well-timed rewards, you can kind of fix that. But you control the when your dog eats, when your dog plays, when your dog comes out of the crate. Right. If you want to be a dick, like I'm going to be a dick back to you, but not.
Yeah,
really,
no, we're not.
we're
not. Yeah, it's not being cruel. It's
right.
It's training. Yeah, no, I get it.
100%.
I get it. My dog doesn't give a shit. So
you get hungry enough. You get hungry enough.
You say that, but we feed him and it just sits in the bowl. He doesn't give. He's like, yeah, well, I'll get to it when I want to get to it.
Well, then I guarantee, don't feed him for a few days and then put his food bowl on the ground. And if he doesn't eat it, take it away in 2 minutes. Try again later that night, right? Free feeding, when you leave a bowl on the ground and the dog learns that the magic food bowl is always right there, they don't give a shit about it. And that's where picky eaters happen. That's like a super common thing that I see. Well,
so take the bowl away. Like, don't even leave
take
the bowl
away. Put it down. You give him 2 to 5 minutes to eat it. If he doesn't eat it, take it away. Make sure he sees it. Then you do that later that night. And eventually,
I know you love Malinois, but is there like if there wasn't a Malinois available, like we used to have a pit bull. I know you talked about that with Pete as well. I've always loved German Shepherds. We had a Shepherd Lab mix that was just an awesome dog, just awesome. But like you alluded to earlier, both hips. She had hip dysplasia.
Terrible.
So we had to have both surgeries. It was like a total of $10,000. And a lot of people can't afford that, right? Like that, it's expensive. So when you tell me that vets, like their whole job is to like have a job and keep your pet sick, I don't, because a lot of people would be like $10,000. This dog's not worth $10,000. Like, just put him down.
Yeah, that's another reason I have pet insurance. I kind of learned the hard way with my last dog. He ended up costing me about 10 grand as well. And, you know, this is such a deeper conversation than, obviously what we're going to have here, but Americans like to ruin things, and we breed for looks versus temperament and workability and biddability, whereas dogs coming from Europe and other places are bred for temperament, health, and working abilities. So Americans have completely ruined the German Shepherd. They've ruined the Doberman. It's very hard to get a good Rottweiler. Like, it's going to happen to the Malinois at some point. And I hate, like, when Trump got on TV and he was talking about the Malinois and the Dutch Shepherds that like made Al Baghdadi cry. He cried like a girl, you know. There, when you make those dogs popular, people see that and they don't realize the amount of times my dogs bit me, and like the fight and the constant need for mental and physical stimulation. Like, they see a finished product and they're like, oh, I want that. They go and get it. They can't handle it. So breeders start breeding weaker dogs, and then the cycle continues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I know we don't want to go too deep into that, but I mean, I feel like that is more a commentary on our society being soft. Like, we want soft dogs. You know, we don't want the dogs, because you don't have to work. Like, we had a blue heeler for a while, and that dog wants to work. That dog wants to herd. That dog, like, it has so much energy, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have any fucking sheep or cows for you to fucking herd. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, it's rough to keep those dogs, because just life in America isn't that anymore.
Yeah, and there's
that's
things
why
that
you
we
cute little dogs that don't want to fucking work.
Well, wait, we'll get to the cute little dogs here in a
Okay,
second,
my
lady.
cat
Hold
don't
on.
want to fucking work. She wants to lay around and look pretty.
well, and
She
that's,
wants to go into the sewer and train a couple of turtles on some ninja skills.
yeah, there you go. The problem is exactly that. Like, people don't have the ability to give their dog what they need. And they're like, I see it every day. They're like, whoa, we went on a 10-mile hike. And I'm like, do you realize like these dogs are bred to run across states, like pulling a fucking sled or herding cows all day out in the mountains? Like it's just difficult, man. And we want to take the easy way out. So we start breeding the weaker dogs. And then, like, Europe's usually like the smart people when it comes to dogs, and they just banned electric collars, also known as shock collars. It's electric collar. They banned prong collars. They banned choke collars, and that's going to be a major problem, because some of these dogs, like my dog, you need tools to keep them safe and to keep other people safe. And what's going to happen is they're going to breed weaker and weaker and weaker dogs, because they're not allowed to use these tools to keep them safe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. Like, what do you think, real quick, and then we'll move on from all the dog talk, but what do you think when you see a hipster, which I'm sure you have a lot of them out there, with a little satchel and a tiny little dog? And I don't mean like a woman who's like, oh, I love my little chihuahua, I love my little, not that, but like a hipster dude in his like 30s or 40s, and he's got this little dog and a little purse that he's carrying around, because I have a family member who's probably
a pug or a Frenchie.
Yeah, like, what do you like? What's the first thing you think of? Because I know what the first thing I think of is.
Well,
but what,
you know, to be fair, I would rather see that than some of these cruel motherfuckers that are prevalent in the dog training world on the internet, that are just smoking dogs and being very heavy-handed and preaching that as gospel. Do I think it's right? No. A dog's spirit is tied to like their genetic makeup, right? Like, pit bulls want to fight and kill other animals. That's the bottom line. American, like true pit bulls, right? German shepherds want to herd or bite people. So do Malinois. Like, if they don't get to scratch those genetic itches, that's where all these behavior issues that you see commonly come from, right? They're not like if you have like a little ratty dog, right? Like, I have people that have their job is literally to go into like tight spaces and hunt and kill rats, right? You could like make a drag with like a long string and rope with a leather, rag on it, essentially. Buy some rat odor from the internet. It's like the deer pee the hunters put on them. Scent that rag up and go drag it around your backyard and hide it in a tight space. Let your dog loose and watch that little motherfucker have the time of his life. He's going to walk out and be like, oh, I know what that is. Boom. And he's just going to genetically understand and do it. You know, there's things like that you can do. But yeah, you know, I don't judge people. But a dog's a dog. A dog is an animal with a mind of its own and 52 teeth. So, you know, we need to treat them like dogs. When we treat them like humans, that's where all the behavior problems come from.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, I would love to talk about guitars and music and find out kind of how you've been in there, but kind of give me the highlights of that, because I know you talked to Pete Johnson about like you got the opportunity to play like $100,000 guitar. You got, you know, you make these guitars and like you go deep in this too.
Yeah, for sure. There's a music store in Denver. It's a couple hour drive. And I went in there and like, I literally played pre-World War II era Martin acoustic guitar. And it was like $100,000 guitar. And you're like holding history, man. That guitar is like 100 years old, almost 80 years old. And to me, I don't know, like I'm really into wood. I'm going to show you this guitar that I have in progress. I've been letting it sit because I had some movement in the wood. But I call this, this is the wood porn Telecaster. So I don't have a very good camera, but like this is the best of woods all the way around. And single piece of black limba on the back. This, you can't really tell, but like once this is clear coated or has an oil finish, that's quilted mahogany. I've only ever seen this once in my lifetime. I have one more piece of this. But to me, being able to make sounds that are pleasing to people in a guitar, right? Like this is always going to be changing, right? Even after it's clear coated, for the life of the instrument, the wood is always taking in, giving out. And it kind of tells a story in a way. It's kind of like a humidor or a cigar in a humidor. You know what I'm saying? Like they get better with age. And, I started building guitars when I got back from my first deployment. I had like $20,000 in the bank. I was like, holy shit. And I went and I bought a $3,000 guitar. And I was like, man, like I gotta be, I wonder if I can build one of these. And they had a wood shop on base. And I went and this was pre-internet and I made a bunch of guitar shaped objects and, you know, now my whole room in here, it's hard to see, but I got a couple acoustics over there that I'm working on. I got a router table. I got planers, joiners. Behind me is a drum sander. In that wood over there, in that closet, some of the best wood hands down you'll ever see. And, you know, I don't know. It's a good way to come up here and just zone out. Like I'll bring my dog up here. I'll put him on his bed. I'll give him a marrow bone and like 2 hours will go by. And like I'm creating something, but I'm not thinking about the asshole that cut me off in the roundabout today or, you know, some trauma or something that I went through. I'm just in the moment. And to me, money can't buy that, you know?
No. And that's awesome. I know you were talking to Pete about, because, you know, his fingers are a little bit bigger and building him a bass like that might accommodate that a little bit. Did you put any work in on that, or is that just something you were like, hey, I could maybe do this for you?
Yeah, he didn't pull the trigger on that. And so this is a piece of camphor burl on a piece of butternut. It's hard to see, but once that's wet, dude, that's just like some of the most pretty wood you'll ever see. Wow. No, he didn't really pull the trigger on it. I need to reach back out and follow up with him. I don't want to be that like annoying guy on the internet, you know. Well, maybe if I meet him in person, we could talk about it. I have the ability to. He just got to tell me, hey, do it. You know what kind of wood he wants. I would totally do that.
How much do one of those cost? How much when you build a guitar? How much does one cost? That's
depends.
Like in his head.
Just like an average in materials. So you're probably around $1,500 to $2,000 just in materials. Now that's finished, painted. You know, all the electronics, the tuning pegs, the bridge, you know, the whole nine. And it depends. Sorry.
I just had I was just going to say, I just had a custom neck built and that cost me $400 just for the neck
easily.
Alone. Wow.
So like this is an acoustic guitar that I'm doing and this is bear claw Sitka spruce. So it's got, you could see there's like some scratch marks. That's figuring, but there's blue abalone around the edge, all the way around the edge,
look
and then
at
there's
that.
abalone there. So like if you put all those like little extras in there, like this is a 2,000-year-old piece of redwood. You know what I'm saying? And
Wow.
you know, I would say like anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 in material. That's not including my time. You know, but if it's wood I got laying around, not a big deal. I want to show you guys one more piece of wood just because this is, you probably have never seen something like this, and you probably won't. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I've got a bass, a Fender bass that I've had since, I don't know, I was probably 20, 21, that I, play on. I used to have a PV before that, just a cheap, like $300 or $400 guitar.
Yeah.
But I graduated to the Fender, and then I decided that I didn't want to learn anymore. I was like, no, I've
my ears on.
I've done enough with the bass, so I still play around with it every once in a while. But let's what is that?
That's mahogany. That's like blistered mahogany, thick enough to do a bass or a body from, but I've never seen a piece of mahogany that has that kind of figuring in it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like $1,000 piece of wood. I mean, that's unbelievable. And
so do you just like, how do you find these pieces of wood? Like, do you go to like a reclamation or?
No, I got a guy. I got a couple guys. The fancier, higher end, hard to get shit. My good friend Austin, who's also, I got him back into cigars, gave him a humidor, gave him, I don't know, I've probably given him 30, 40 cigars now to kind of get going. He's the connect on that. And like, he's got slabs of like 2,000-3,000-year-old redwood. I mean, just ridiculous, and
wow.
You're talking about a neck. This is a roughed out neck for these acoustic guitars that I got sitting over here. Yeah, I could see paying $400 for a neck. By the time
I specifically wanted the fretboard to be zebra wood. I've always wanted zebra wood. So I found a guy. He's like, I can do it. It turned out amazing. I just need to finish the body now.
You can't really, you could kind of see some of it in there, but like I've got, I don't know. I've got ebony, curly ebony fingerboards from India, curly Indian ebony. I've got Wengay. I've got pretty much any kind of species of wood. I don't think I have zebra wood. That's not super common in the guitar world. I mean, it happens, but I've got back and side sets in there of like pale moon ebony. But the problem is it's super dry here. And the first guitar that I showed you guys, it's hollow. So I had to like hollow out the body before I glued the maple cap on. And that's how you're able to see through the F hole. When I took my straight edge and I laid it on the top, it's concave. And then the back is the opposite way. So I don't know, like just the change in humidity, if I work the wood too fast. So most of that stuff's been sitting for years, or not years, but months and months. Some of it I've had for years. And, it's got to acclimate. You know what I'm saying? You can't just get a piece of wood and start building a guitar with it. Because in a guitar, it's about looks and it's about being straight and precise, like within thousandths precision. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If it's not going to be playable. So many guitar shaped objects I've built, but not, a lot fewer actual good playing guitars. And then this is a Stratocaster. So that's what mahogany normally looks like. So that's Sapele mahogany. And then this is the neck for it. I did the entire neck out of bird's eye maple. Yep. And super pretty, pain in the dick to work with. And then I got a couple Telecasters on the wall and then some Les Pauls. I'm really proud of this guy though. This is my Tele neck.
That looks, what kind of wood is that?
That's pale moon ebony. So it's not as figured as some of it is, but very pretty. And then I did the big blue abalone dots. And then trying to think, it's hard to get. It's buried at the bottom. I'll send you a picture of the of the acoustic set I got, but that's like a $600 set of wood.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's everywhere in here, man. And, I do the engraving work and the pearl work and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
it's a lot of attention to detail, isn't it?
For sure. And that's it's kind of like a therapy in a way, right? Like you don't think of anything. Now, it could go wrong. You fuck something up. Like I fucked up Austin gave me this fingerboard in ebony. So the first guitar I showed you where it had the tiger stripes, the maple, that's like super common. That's called curly maple. You don't see those curls like that in ebony. And he gave me the most beautiful piece of curly ebony that I've ever seen for a fingerboard. And I was using my router to put the radius on the top of it. And I went too deep and the whole fucking piece was gone. So gone.
Wow. That's all. So attention to detail. It's kind of like therapy. It's a lot like cigars. Cigars can be therapy as well because it forces you to slow down. This is a hard segue to do. Forces you to kind of slow down and, kind of take stock, especially if you're by yourself. There's a lot of time for introspection and just you're alone with your thoughts and whatnot. And I want to give you an opportunity to go to your truck if you want to stick around for the second hour and hang out with us while we talk top 10. But what's been smoking good for you this year, the last 12 months? What have you really been into?
Dunbarton, man. I'm really loving Saka stuff. And I actually just found a sealed box of the toad juice or frog juice or whatever. Scooped those up today. I'd say Dunbarton, Tatuaje, Roma Craft. What else? Matilde. I'm going to have the Matilde guy on real soon. I kind of discovered Room 101 cigars recently, but I will say I had a Sir Louis exclusive. It was a cocaina, spelled like cocaina, but with a cocaine, but with an INA on the end.
Right.
And awesome cigars. But if I had to pick, it's a toss up between a Connecticut broadleaf wrap, Nicaraguan guts, or a San Andreas wrapped with Nicaraguan guts.
Oh yeah, San Andreas is
that's it's so good. Like
that's where that. So you're gonna who can we expect? Who can people look forward to you talking to on Dogs of War podcast?
Well, I've got Matilde, so I've have Enrique lined up from Matilde Cigars. His father just passed away, the patriarch of the company, so we're kind of just taking some time getting him on, and I have a trip coming up. I reached out to Matt Booth from Room 101. He's another nut Marine, and I really love his work. So he said he would do it, but then he's kind of been super busy. I haven't heard back. So those two are question marks. I'm going to try and I don't know, man. The Padron family doesn't really do a lot of podcasts, but
no, they do not.
I'm going to try and talk to one of them. We text, occasionally. I've helped him with his dog and stuff. And I don't know. I want to get him on. I'll tell him, I'm not going to ask secrets. I just want you to talk about your company and your granddad. And maybe I can pull it off. That'd be
awesome if you do. Tell the people where they can listen to the podcast, where they can find you, and then if you want to stick around, go ahead to your truck, we'll get the second hour going.
Absolutely. So I don't really have a website for my podcast. I'm more super grassroots. I probably need to change that, but I'm on most of the platforms. If you just put in Dogs of War, you'll see Dogs of War with Steve Houston. That's me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Dogs of War Podcast. My dog training business is Oracle Canine Training. So I do remote training, online consultation. So if anybody needs help with their dogs and you're a cigar guy, I'd love to chat. Just look me up.
Yeah, there you go. Stephen Houston, Dogs of War podcast, dogs_of_war_podcast on Instagram. I made the mistake. There's another one out there that has the in it.
Yeah, he started that like a month after me, that motherfucker.
Send him a C&D. Send him a C&D. That's what this industry is all about. Yes, this industry is all about the C&D. Send him a cease and desist.
All right. Good idea. You can see I started mine literally like a month before.
Oh, there you go. So Joe Stephens is going to smoke a Festivus by Cigar Clowns. So yeah, hope you're going to join us. You're going to go out to the.
Yeah, let me put all my wood back away, and then I got to go grab something out of the humidor.
All right, perfect. Just join again when you're done, and we'll let you back in, and we'll get going here with the second hour. Stephen Houston, Dogs of War podcast. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a great podcast, guys. Go check it out. I listened to the episode with Pete Johnson today. Really good podcast. Lots of great questions, and he talks about more than just cigars. We here at Simply Stogies, we're Simply Stogies. We talk just about Stogies, but finding out about people might be the way to go. I like what he's doing. It's a great product. And he starts, he's doing what we used to do. It's just audio only, very simple, very easy. And now I make you all stare at my ugly mug.
Well, you got to do something. I do like the fact that it's people in or used to be in the military, former military people offering services and help to not only other people who have gotten out of the service, but are also in the service.
Yeah.
And your conversation with Steven was really good. So I didn't want to do a whole lot of interrupting because usually when I do, it's kind of dumb. So
I just make fun of you. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But I do appreciate what he does.
But you've got a guitar podcast that you have, Pandemic Guitar, which is a great podcast. If you're into music, you're into guitars, check that out. Tim and his father, who's a musician, and your sister, who's a musician. Like, you guys all talk about it. And I've got
very loosely musicians.
I've got this that you made me out of the lunatic box.
Yeah.
And then I'm still waiting. Waiting on
I've been waiting for the last 30 minutes for you to bring that up. I was waiting for it.
I gave you the Castagli Spalato box. Yeah. And, waiting for
and then here comes Shauna knocking
with
on
the website.
Hey, since you got the door open, let me come on in.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You want to?
We're all waiting for Tim to do something.
Oh God, we love busting Tim's nuts here. Someone should write a book about the struggles of dog training. Maybe call it Canine Comp. No, let's not call it that at all. That would be terrible. Look,
Almost
the second hour of After Dark is brought to you by smallbatchcigar.com. Smallbatchcigar.com. Aficionados know, enthusiasts know, and now you know. Smallbatchcigar.com. Use coupon code Stogies, get 10% off. And look, you can go there and you're going to get a bonus 5% reward points when you use coupon code Stogies. Bank those reward points now. Use them later on in the year for your birthday, for Christmas, for Easter, for Thanksgiving, for whatever special event you have where you usually get a gift, or just treat yourself. Sometimes you just have to treat yourself. Smallbatchcigar.com. They're always on top of the new releases. They're always on top of what's coming out. They're always on top of what's going to come out. That's where you go. You don't go anywhere else. They're our exclusive online retailer. Use coupon code Stogies, 10% off, bonus 5% reward points, and always free shipping. Smallbatchcigar.com. The second hour of After Dark is also brought to you by Lure Cigars. Lure Cigars, home of the number 4 cigar on the top 10 list of 2024 for Simply Stogies. The Mean G-Mint. It's a double Ometepe blend over an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, 2000 wrapper, with Ometepe binder and Ometepe filler, and then Nicaraguan filler in there as well. This is a great cigar. This is what I'll be smoking for the second hour. If you haven't tried Lure Cigars, where have you been? Where have you been? Why have you not tried it yet? Go to your retailer, go to your B&M and demand. You can do that. You can demand that they carry Lure Cigars. Ask for it by name. Smoke great cigars, tell tall tales. Lure Cigars. We're happy for them to be a sponsor of the podcast, and of course, Lou is a great supporter of ours. He's here with us tonight. I'm sure we're going to talk to him about the top 10 here in just a minute. And then before I cut this, we've got something that we've got to do first, because you can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigars. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. Blackbird Cigar Company. Look, I talked about the Wren in the first hour. You can get that over at smallbatchcigar.com. You can get their core line over at smallbatchcigar.com. And that Wren, I'll tell you what, it's a Mexican San Andreas wrapper over a Dominican binder and fillers from that include Corojo, Criollo 98, and Allure 6x52. It is fantastic. You want something that's medium plus, the Wren scratch that itch. Blackbird Cigar Company. Can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. And you see that great hat right there that Jonas sent me. I love that hat. It's in red and not pink, like flamingo. One that I got from smoking pipes. But yeah, I really enjoy Blackbird cigars. I hope you do too. Can't clip my wings, but you can't clip my cigar. Brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. So look, there's been a lot of top 25 lists, top 10 lists. The consensus isn't out yet from Half Wheel, but our top 10 list is out. And speaking of the top 10 list, you can go to Small Batch Cigar and you can get the 5-pack sampler of our top 10 list. Just all you got to do is go to the search bar, type in Simply, it'll pop right up. And it's got 5 of our top 10 cigars, including the Warhead 10, which was our number 10. It's got the Arsenio from Aganorsa Leaf, which was our number 9. It has the Oro de Nicaragua, which is our number 1. It has the Mini Hanky, which was our number 3. And there's another one that I don't remember what it is. I'm going to look right now.
Did you say the 601?
I did.
The Warhead?
The Warhead 10. Yeah. And the Emissary, España, the from Macanudo. So let's talk about top 10 lists. How much stock should people really put into top 10 lists? Lou, I want to save yours for after I talk to Shauna and Brian, because you're a manufacturer, so your perspective might be a little bit different than a retailer. So let's get the retailer's perspective first. Brian, as someone who owns a shop, how much stock should people put into top lists, top 10 lists, top 25, top 35, whatever it is?
No, I think they should put stock into it. I mean, especially from when you get away from the big manufacturer people, you know that they had to buy them on their own. There's time to judge them. I think it's a great way to introduce new cigars in the industry because they're really getting into detail on it. And, you know, it's a great way for retailers to learn about new cigars, to maybe put them in their humidor, that they see the traction that comes with it. Yeah, I mean, I put stock in it quite a bit.
Okay, all right, that's a good perspective to have. I mean, as a retailer, you kind of like it, right? Because it might spur sales from something that may have been sitting there for a couple months that hasn't moved, that maybe was off people's radar. There's always something new coming out in the cigar industry, so I can appreciate that. Lou, as a manufacturer, how much stock do you think consumers should put into in as we bring Stephen Houston back to the stage as he's in his truck smoking a cigar? Lou, how much stock do you think manufacturers should put into top lists?
Manufacturers?
Yeah.
I think that they, you know, I think that you always are honored to be recognized amongst your peers or from the other companies. So I think that there's an element of always wanting to know that your cigars are out there and being seen. But as far as, you know, whether your cigar is included or not, I mean, there's all these different criteria as to why some cigars are included and why some are excluded from the process, depending on who's making the list. So from a manufacturing standpoint, you know, you can't get emotional about not being included, you know, but when you do get recognized, I think it's a great honor to have somebody say this was worthy of someone's going back out and smoking it. You know, I put it in the perspective of, if you pay attention to a single list, that's probably not as good as trying to be aware of many different lists, and then to see cigars that are out there that are showing up on multiple lists. So from a manufacturing standpoint, if multiple lists recognize a certain brand or a certain cigar, you know, what are they doing right? Why are they getting recognized? And so from a manufacturer standpoint, I think that it helps you put it into the context of who's making cigars out there, you know, why, and ask the questions, why are they showing up on lists? Is it because the cigars are great? Is it because they bought advertising? Is it because they do a good job on social media and promoting their cigars? So it can be an inspiration, and it can be a goal from a manufacturing standpoint to say, you know, kind of what are the other people doing to get recognized and to get noted. So I you know, that's how I look at it from a manufacturing standpoint. From a consumer standpoint, I would say that I've always liked lists. You know, I don't put value in a single list, but if I see, for the same reasons, if I see a cigar that keeps showing up or a brand that keeps showing up on a list, it makes me want to, if it's something I haven't ever tried or ever heard of before, it makes me excited about going out there and trying it for myself. So, I think that lists are great.
Okay. All right. Steven, do you put any stock in lists at all? Like, this time of year when all of us in the media industry are putting out our lists and what we like and what we think you should smoke and what was great for the last, 12 months or however long it is. Some folks like to do the last 2 years. Some of them, they all have criteria. It has to be on the market for X amount of time. It has to be in this many markets. It has to, like, where do you land on these lists?
I kind of take them with a grain of salt. Judging by the picks of some of these organizations versus what I've personally smoked, I don't know. I don't want to be out of line here, but I feel like it's kind of a pay to play game. So I like more independent, like voices like your guys, yourself. Small Batch Cigar, shout out Small Batch. They're also a sponsor for me, but I don't know. I'm going to do my own. Now that you mentioned that, I need to pump out an extra show or two before my trip next week. I might do that. I might sit down and go through all my bands from this year and kind of pick what I like best. But we all have different palates, man. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a tough one. I'll take it into like consideration when I'm spending my hard-earned money on cigars. But like when you see cigars that have been on the market for years and then all of a sudden they win, and I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. That was, I had a hard time, and Tim can attest to this. I had a hard time wanting to do this list because it is such a pay to play thing, especially with the big guy, cigar aficionado. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. I don't need a rant about that anymore. I mean, I definitely could if you guys want to hear another rant on cigar aficionado.
No, we don't.
We're good.
No, we don't.
I think they certainly have a place in the industry and they've done great things for the cigar culture as a whole. But their top 25 list can suck a dick. I hate to pay to play. And, I said at the top of the hour, some brands are about status, especially status cigars, but they do have some bangers. Shout out to Kelvin and Mrs. George. There you go.
I'm right now.
Well, James, look at what lists do more than the most important thing that I think that lists do that people forget is that it brings out the conversation piece of cigars. And as a retailer, as a buyer, as a supplier, it's bringing out conversations. Whether you're at the top of the list, you're bottom of the list, whether you're on Cigar Aficionado or whether you're on Simply Stogies, I don't think it really matters when it boils down to it. It boils down to the fact that, hey, we're talking about cigars and it is a palate thing. Everybody has a different palate. Me and you have a different palate, and we bicker about that all the time. But it doesn't mean that there is not a landing point where me and you both go, wow, there's not that moment. And I think lists bring that to people. I think as long as you don't just look at one list and you look at multiple lists, I think it brings that wow moment for people because they're like, I would have never tried this, or I would have never talked about this, or I never would have done any of this. And so, and in the grand scheme of things of cigars, ultimately that's what we're here for. They bring us all together. Now, lists at the end of the year go, it's a reflection. Did we try this? Did I try this? Is it a memory? Is it something that we're all doing together? Was it the time that me and you sat down in the lounge and it was just me and you and it was quiet and this cigar hit us right? But it brings up those memories. And I think that's what lists really actually do for people than just pick out what's the best cigar. Because, I could tell you what the best cigar is and you're going to argue with me all day long about it. So
That's what James does, though.
James' favorite cigar is it's a Gurkha.
We're just going to move on from that. That is objectively not true.
I have a completely different outlook on it than any of you guys do.
Oh, please do tell Shauna.
So I think lists are good for. I always think about those people that are just starting out, right? And they give somebody a place to start. whenever I'm looking for a new product or something that I don't know anything about, the first thing I do is I go to the internet and I go, what is the best one of these? And I look at all the different lists that are out there. And then I go out and I look at all the reviews in the top 5, the top 10 of all the 15 different places who have done their reviews of this year of whatever those things are. And then I have some knowledge of what it is that I'm looking for based on all of those different reviews that are out there to see if I even want to try to go look it up. And then I feel like I know a little bit about it. So for people that are just getting into cigars or who don't know anything about cigars or who just smoke cigars because their friends tell them to, they have a place to go to get some knowledge about that and to read about what other people think about it to see if maybe they want to start learning their own stuff.
Can I
All right.
piggyback off of Shauna's comment right there?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So, and like, I don't know, I think there needs to either be more categories or it needs to be more inclusive, because there's brands, there's legacy brands, right? There could be, what's the word for it? The boutique brands that aren't even thought of being in this situation, right? That like completely blows the doors off of anything on the top 25 list. So I think as long as it's like a fair thing, and then there's a lot of different categories and more is covered, I don't know. I think that would be a little bit more fair as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and we have been traditionally here at Simply Stogies and simplystogies.com. We have traditionally been a boutique focused group of people, and this year we had 2 cigars that were, one came from Macanudo and one came from Punch that hit our top 10. So, and in the conversation that I had with Sean Williams from Cohiba on the last podcast, go check that out. Available wherever podcasts are sold. Quantities are limited. No, they're not. It was a great conversation about the differences between boutique and mainstream cigars, but you have to look at both sides, and to exclude one or the other for whatever biases you have doesn't do anyone any favors. And so, I'm happy that we were able to include 2 mainstream cigars this year in our top 10. And I think they were both very deserving of being there. The Dragonfire by Punch and the Macanudo Emissary España. Jeff Dillingham, Jay Rigged, one of our reviewers at simplystogies.com, and a friend of ours, he's joined. Jeff, what are your thoughts on top 10 lists, top 25 lists, top 35 lists, top lists of the year every year?
I mean, honestly, it's just about get an idea of everyone else's opinion out in the industry. I take everything with a grain of salt because everybody has a different palate. So different, and also you got to factor in other things. So some lists, depending on the bigger name lists, you got to wonder how much sponsorship money is involved.
Right.
So that's always a key point you got to take out. So I tend to look at the smaller guys with the list that they put out. People that kind of are actually going through and smoking the cigars for what they really are, not so much looking at the other side of it.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I and look, it's different for everyone and how they kind of do it. But I think at the end of the day, most everybody who does a list has a editorial group, if you will, that sits around and talks about it. And we did that this year, and there was some heated discussions around it. And I think I touched on it at the top of the show. The Mean Genes are number 4 cigar of the year, and deservedly so. This is a great cigar. It is standing up to that Padron. Normally when you smoke a Padron, like it's just chocolate, right? And it's just straight chocolate the whole way through, and it's a great cigar. But this Mean Gene has complexity and nuance, and it's not just a pepper bomb or a spice bomb. It's a Habano. It's creamy. It's nutty. It's earthy, and there's a little bit of sweetness that goes, and it's just more nuanced and complex, I think, than a Padron. And that's not taking anything away from a Padron. But Lou and Lure Cigars is a sponsor of the show. And so I personally had a hard time with my ethics. Yes, I have those, where I was like, should we include this or not? It's a great cigar. It deserves to be on it, but he's a sponsor. And I didn't want there to be any, just even a whiff of
Favoritism.
impropriety or favoritism. Right. And so I struggled with that. And like I said, I was vetoed because everybody else said, fuck you, just put it on the list. And
Yeah,
so
but by excluding him, that's like reversing it. I mean, you're excluding him because
you're
he's
not wrong.
That's not fair either.
You're not wrong. It's not fair. It's really a catch-22.
You know,
But
I hate it when you say I'm not wrong. Just tell me I'm fucking right.
well, you're not wrong, Shauna. Lou,
Thank you. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Like Lou, you were on a ton of lists that I saw this year. Lure Cigars had a banner year. And this is your first true 12 months on the market. You had a banner year, so it wasn't just like Simply Stogies was like, oh yeah, you're a sponsor, let's put you at number 4. You made Cigar of the Year on someone's list. You've been on multiple lists. Talk about what that means to you as a manufacturer, especially in the first 12 months.
Well, it's very humbling. I has started this kind of as something that grew out of a hobby, something to honor my dad. And when I get to experience other people's joy and excitement about smoking cigars, and they happen to be my cigars, it just really makes it worth it. It is a business, yes, but at the end of the day, it's just one of the things that keeps me excited about doing this and excited about smoking cigars with other people. And we've been very fortunate that the word of mouth of people who are, cigar nerds out there like myself and everybody included on this podcast that likes to smoke cigars on the regular, they've gone out there, they've made an effort, they've tried them, and then when they smoke them, they enjoy them, and then they spread the word and other people enjoy them. And so, I've had the honor of being on several different podcasts and try to stay relevant on social media and spread the word. And when your list came about, and I tried to abstain and in my opinion let you guys duke it out, and I just I was very, very happy and excited to be included amongst all the other cigars that we smoked. I mean, I'm smoking a McAuliffe tonight. Here, my second cigar, in McAuliffe Black. I like smoking a lot of different cigars, and while I do smoke Lure on the regular because I like the cigars, when I see something out there that's doing really well, and I like to smoke it, and then I find out that somebody else recognizes it, and we put out some cigars that I thought were good. I enjoyed smoking them. I thought other people would like them, and then to find out that they get mentioned and get placed on a list, it's I don't know what to say. I mean, it's kind of like I think it's kind of amazing that a company that's brand new can get the buzz and the messaging out there, but at the same time, you got to smoke it and like it. It can't just be the marketing behind it. So you've got the Brownie Trout was the number 1 cigar for the Real Smoke podcast, and those guys have been excited about Lure since they got a chance to smoke them. Stogie Press, Boston Jimmy, he put it out there where Big Lou got to be on his top 25 list or top 30 cigars, whatever it was, number 24. And he's got some incredible brands on that list, and put it out there and smoked it and really enjoyed the cigar. So when I see that happen, I mean, I just it's humbling to be amongst other great cigars on the list, but I really appreciate it. I mean, and it makes me motivates me from a manufacturing standpoint to make better things and to come out with new stuff and get the message out there and have more people smoke great cigars and tell tall tales.
I need to get my hands on some.
Absolutely. Let's go through our top 10 list real quick. Number 10 was the 601 La Bamba Warhead 10 by Espinosa. Number 9 was the Arsenio Toro by Aganorsa Leaf. Number 8 was the Dragonfire by Punch Cigars. Number 7, which I feel bad that this ended at number 7 because I really like this cigar, the Mastranza Valencia by Roma Craft. Number
Great
6,
smoke.
oh, it's such a great smoke. Number 6 is the Macanudo Emissary España Toro. The number 5 is the McAuliffe Red Toro, which is
Mhm.
another great cigar. And there was a lot of discussion like red or blue, and like red was just, I think, head and shoulder. Like I like the blue, I love the blue. I think red was just head and shoulders above
More
above the blue.
complex.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah.
Way
Number
more
4. Yeah. More. Number 4 was the Mean Gene by Lure. Number 3 was the Mini Henke from Smoking Jacket Cigars. Number 2 was the Los Calaveras Decimo Aniversario from Crowned Heads, and the number 1 was the Oro de Nicaragua Toro Extra from Patina Cigars. Now that list,
Nice.
in my opinion, is a pretty well balanced list. I think that it has a little bit of something for everyone, but I kind of want to go through some of the highlights. That Dark Kitten says she loves the story behind Lure Cigars. Dan Thompson said, "Congratulations, Lou, on all of your success for the last year." But there's a little bit of something for everybody. But the one diamond in the rough for me, out of everything on that list, which they're all great cigars, is something that I haven't really seen on anyone's list or really heard anyone talk about for the last several months, has been the Mini Henke from Smoking Jacket Cigars. That Mini Henke coming out of the KBF factory, Kellner Boutique factory in the Dominican. Man, I don't understand how that's sliding under everybody's radar. At the time when we smoked that at the trade show, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we had a conversation. Is this better than the Oro de Nicaragua?
We did.
And it was a tough conversation to have. It was really good. And I'm surprised. I'm shocked that no one else is really talking about the cigar. For me, it's a true diamond in the rough. The McAuliffe Red. People talk about the blue and the black's great. I smoked the box press from Smoke In.
Smoke In.
Yeah, I really liked that one as well. But that red, I think that red's more full. And I know I'm going to get shit for this. I think that's more full than the black. Can I
pop in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry I don't know how this necessarily works, but
Just-
I got the
You
reds.
just talk. You just tell me to
It's
shut the fuck up.
All right. I'm just gonna when I got the reds, I kind of smoked one right away, and then I honestly couldn't finish it. I was like, wow, it was just, I don't know. But then I let it sit in my humidor for a few weeks, a month or two, and I went back to it and I was blown away. So, and I've smoked now, that's been my experience with the 5-pack that I got recently, and I absolutely loved it. But for whatever reason, when I smoked one of those fresh off the truck, it was just overwhelming and kind of all over the place. But once it settled a little bit and it got a little bit of age on it, it was phenomenal.
Oh, that red, I just blew me away. The first time I smoked it, like I remember telling Lou, I'm like, dude, I think this is better than, I think it's more full than the black, and I like it more than the blue. And he was like, no, the blue's really good. Because the blue's interesting. I think out of all of their blends that McAuliffe had, and especially what came out this year, I think the blue's more interesting. It's a Mexican Sumatra wrapper, right? And it has all of that classic Sumatra spice that you really love. But that red is complex, and it's full flavored, and it's bold, and it blew my doors off.
What about sorry.
No, go ahead.
Since we're talking about Sumatra, the Postania, the catastrophic disaster.
The catastrophic failure. So that was released. Yep, that was released in December. So the way we do it here at Simply Stogies is we go from November to November. So it has to be released in November, and we have to review it in November, by November.
That's in my top 5 of the year for sure, for me personally.
So we just had, you can go to simplystogies.com right now. You can check it out. The review for that was released today. So that's eligible for next year. It was an 883, if I remember right, that I scored it. It's not your typical Sumatra.
Right.
It's different. And I guess when I look at it, I'm like, Sumatra, I'm expecting something. So my bias was really came through on that score. And I even said so. You know, we weight our personal enjoyment very low. It's only worth half a point, but out of that half a point, I think I scored it a 0.35. And if I would have really enjoyed it, if it would have been in my wheelhouse, it would have been closer to a 9. But you know, if somebody else reviews it, it might be a 9, it might be a 9.1, it might be a 9.2, because it is different. It's not your typical Sumatra. And I don't think the McAuliffe Blue was really your typical Sumatra, but it was just like, again, I think the red, when you compare the two, the red's where it's at. The red is just phenomenal.
If
I'm
you
also
don't interrupt James while he's talking, if you don't just butt in there, he'll never shut the fuck up.
Hashtag truth.
God,
I like her.
I can't believe that's coming from you, Shauna.
Seriously?
You
Have
can't.
you listened to the last hour and a half? It has been nonstop, James. I can't believe you don't feel well, sir.
I'm finding my foot and shut up. Look, you people fucking talk. What do you want from me? Nobody else was asking questions. Steve was me. Tim's like, oh,
James, let me ask. I got a question for the group.
Yeah.
So,
Go for it.
top 10 lists that go for 12 months. One of the things that you had was the Mini Hanky was one of the few cigars that shined out of this last year's trade show. And so, from a consumer standpoint, I've not been to a trade show, and I'll be going to PCA in April. One of the greatest concerns I have from a consumer standpoint is that cigars are released at the trade show, or at least they're announced somewhere around that trade show, because it's the big time of year when we talk about what's coming out. The Mini Hanky was ready to go, and you guys came back from that show. I immediately bought a box on spec. I hadn't tried it, but you said it was so good, I bought it, and it is a very good cigar. And it's a little bit lighter profiled than what I normally smoke on a regular basis, but it's a very, very fine cigar, and I think well deserved to be on the list. But it was also something that we've smoked back in March of last year, or this year. Well, last year, I guess we could say last year already. So, you know, a lot of the cigars that came out on lists, is it how recently you've smoked it so that it's in your memory? And how many people are going back and smoking a cigar that came out 12 months ago and giving it a fair shake relative to what's new and what's coming out? And again, to be relevant, I think that some of the times the lists get caught up in what is more recently smoked, that can give a cigar an edge over another cigar. You know, that's not how you guys do it, Simply Stogies, but I think some other lists might be bias based on the recent, how recent you smoked something.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I don't disagree. We don't.
That's jumping on the bandwagon.
Well, it is kind of jumping on the bandwagon. I guess the way that we get around that here at Simply Stogies is, you know, we don't go by score, right? It has to reach at least a 9 to be considered top 10. But from there, like, we try to smoke it. And then compare it against some of the other ones that we've done throughout the year that have reached a 9 or higher. The Oro de Nicaragua, which was our #1 cigar of the year from Patina Cigars, that thing, it scored a 9.7, one of the higher scores that we've ever had on simplystogies.com. And it's absolutely amazing. There was not another, and I don't feel bad saying this with another manufacturer on. I think Lou, I think you really enjoyed the Oro de Nicaragua as well.
Oh man,
yeah,
it's I said it the moment I smoked it.
Yeah.
I said, this is the cigar of the year. I said the moment that I smoked it, I bought a box. I have bought subsequent cigars in different vitolas of that brand. I like the Toro Extra the best. They had an exclusive limited run of a Lancero that wasn't my jam. The flavor was there, but it wasn't the power that I liked behind it. But when I smoked that cigar, I was like, that is the cigar of the year for me. And I held on to that. And there was a couple other bangers that were out there that were great cigars that I smoked from other companies. But that one really it was just so interesting, and it kept my attention. And every time I smoke it, I'm like, that's a great cigar.
Yeah.
Is that the same company that does Cinco de Cinco?
No, that's Hoya de Nicaragua.
Oya de Nicaragua.
Hoya de Nicaragua. Yeah, they're the ones who do the Cinco de Cinco.
What's the #1 called?
Oro de Nicaragua in the Toro Extra Vitola from Patina Cigars.
Okay. Oh yeah, you said Patina. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, really great. Yeah, go ahead.
You said there is a cigar on your list for everyone. I'm just curious what my cigar would be.
Wow.
Marlboro Reds didn't make the list.
That's why I'm asking. I smoke cigars. I got one right here.
What are
Sure.
you, is she a Connecticut or what? What's your
No,
go-to, Shauna?
I'm smoking the perfect pink, the El Septimo, the perfect pink.
Oh well, then anything on the list would be better than the El Septimo.
Shut up.
What? Nothing. I didn't say.
Let's go back to Lou's question. Lou asked a great question.
Mine was a serious question.
I wasn't just.
I was waiting for both yours and Tim's.
Welcome to divorce court.
Right. Mini hanky. You should the mini hanky, Shauna. That's the answer. The mini hanky.
What's your answer? Which one on that list would be for me?
Yeah, mini hanky.
Yeah.
You're going with that one?
Yeah.
That Macanudo's good too, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
I'm-
Macanudo.
That
Yeah.
Macanudo is very good. I smoked
Yeah,
that one. It's good.
that cigar was a big surprise.
Huge.
And I will say that when I first started smoking cigars 30 years ago, there were very few brands to select from in the humidors that I would venture into. And Macanudo was a cigar that a lot of my peers and their dads would smoke. They love Macanudos.
That was my first.
And yep. And so, when you smoke them and they had a signature kind of flavor, the way Fuente has a signature flavor to a lot of their cigars. When I smoked my fair share, Portofinos and Hyde Parks. I smoked a lot of Macanudo. And then I got into boutique cigars. I didn't know what, these other cigar companies were. I started smoking boutiques. And I was like, I really like these cigars better. And I kind of just let Macanudo fade away. I just did not go to, everybody kind of jokes around like, oh, you're smoking a Macanudo. You haven't been smoking very long. And when you said, you've got to try this Macanudo España. And I'm like, what? The Emissary? And I'm like, oh man, these big companies come out with these cigars and they put some new name on it and they do whatever. And I've really never given it a fair shake. And it wasn't until you guys basically said, you got to smoke this. And I smoked it. And I was so pleasantly surprised that it gave me a vote, whatever. I advocated for it to be on the list because I was sitting there going, this is a cigar that warrants attention. And it wasn't for anything else, but it was a great smoke. And it was something, if you took the bands off the cigars, if you had all 10 cigars that you put on your list, and even some of the other ones that didn't make the cut that were very good cigars, and you took the bands off, I think that Macanudo would rank in the top 10 without a doubt.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think everybody smokes bands to a certain extent,
Sure.
and they stay away from certain brands and they kind of gravitate towards certain brands. But if you take the band off, Shauna, if you take the band off, you kind of do have that. And I've kind of toyed around with the idea of this next year, maybe sending them out like I
think
15,
they should
20.
be blind. They
Yeah,
should be
blind.
You could sway somebody's. Like if you're like, dude, you got to try this. This is a banger. I'm gonna go into it and I'm gonna like it more just because you've said that.
Or hate it more because I said it. Yeah.
Yes, very true. Either way, I think it should be a blind test. Notes, and you smoke them in the beginning, like Rich had said, and then you smoke them right before you come out with the list. I don't know.
I think for me, I don't know, Tim, Jeff, Lou, Brian, Shauna, jump in here, like whenever. Like, I think if we did it blind, the problem with that is because cigar smoking is so subjective, and it really does depend on mood. It depends on environment. It depends on what you had to eat that day. It depends on so many other factors other than just the flavor of the cigar, the tasting notes that you get from a cigar. Doing a blind test, to me, that's a recipe for disaster.
I think if you go into a blind test, you can't take a $50 cigar and throw it up against an $8 cigar and then go take the bands off of it and try to put in the same
I would just,
categories.
you know,
I think you have to categorize it in a way. If you're going to do a blind test, then that's fine. But just say, these are all
Premium. These are more budget.
20 and
friendly.
under, and these are all 20 and over. I mean, because you could,
No, you guys could do it though. You could, after you get done at the end of the year, you could take all the ones that you have rated 9 and above, right? And after you guys have whittled them down to however many that you have, then you have a person who is not in the tasting, a person who doesn't get a vote. You can tell by looking at the cigar, because y'all do this all the time, what kind of wrapper it has, what kind of filler it has by the taste. I mean, that's why you guys do this. That's right. You can look at it and say, "Oh, this is a whatever wrapper."
no.
If you have a person that shut up.
we own a cigar store.
Yeah. I'm
But
gonna,
if you have someone else,
But here's my
afterwards,
thing, though, right? Is that
you
if you're
send them-
taking the cigars that are rated, that's the criteria number 2 is November or 90 and above,
right?
right? So then I take those 10 cigars or those 13 cigars, whatever that number is, dependent on the vitola and a few other factors, and knowing that these cigars are within this range of cigars that we've reviewed, some of those you'll be able to look at and be like, well, I know what that is.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Very
it can't
true. Very true.
It can't be a double blind, but it can be as blind as it can be.
yeah, I get. But I
I'd
want
be
to.
interested to see.
I want to
See if you
circle
rank
back.
them the same.
Yeah, I want to circle back to what Brian said about putting them in price category.
Yeah, I really do. I think you got to you got to understand. I mean, that when some of that stuff's aged, or they say it's aged, and
Well, I think that's the better. I think that's the better thing to say is they say it's aged.
Well, whatever. But I mean, they put it in a. You can't. I mean, we did it this year when we were doing the Year of the Dragon from Placentia, which was a high dollar cigar than anything else we were reviewing. It takes it out of the running there's just different factors that run into that.
I don't think that the Placencia Year of the Dragon was nearly as interesting as anything else on that list. And objectively, I don't think there's anyone on this call that would put the Placencia Year of the Dragon above the Mastranza Valencia from Roma. I don't think anyone, and that's a $10 cigar versus a $40 cigar, and that $10 cigar blows it away. Would anybody on this call disagree with that?
No.
I don't. I'm not on the hype train with the Placencia. I think it's a good cigar, well constructed, but they don't blow me away personally.
I think they've got some really good stuff. I like a lot of their regular production, but that Year of the Dragon, just it great cigar. So is it a $40 cigar? Probably a $20 cigar. Well, that's a different conversation. But I think the McAuliffe Red is a much better cigar than the Year of the Dragon from Placencia. I just do.
You can do it with Davidoff. You can do it with Verdone.
I mean, dollar categories.
Here's the thing.
Because
you could do it that way. Is break it.
Yeah, but look, so here at Simply Stogies, it has to be released in the last 12 months, from November to November. It has to be released then. We don't do, this Padron 1964, whatever, this is smoking real great this year. This is the one we're going to pick. That's not what we do here. It's not like if you're going to have a cigar of the year, it has to be released that year. That's common sense to me. And I don't understand why everybody else doesn't do the same thing.
Well, it's like the cigar aficionado. They pick the
or they pick Cubans that have been out for 30 years. Like nobody gives a shit.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
that actually makes sense to me, James.
See, sometimes Shauna, I make sense. Like Rick, you're being real quiet, and I'll be honest, it's a little scary when you're quiet.
I'm just taking it all in.
I don't believe you. I
I do like the idea though of doing, because we had talked a little about changing a few things about next year's list if we're still doing it. But I do like having the categories, like 15 and under, 20 and over.
I don't, because that would take the number 3 cigar of the year, the Mini Hanky. That would put it in a box.
Well, you could do overall out of
I-
everything that was reviewed, but
I
Well,
think
but that's what you're basically doing now.
but that's what I do now, and I think overall is the way to go. I think if you start putting things in a box, like, look, we've already decided that next year we're not going to include LEs. There'll be a top 3 LEs for 2024, but LEs will not go into that top 10 list because they're just too hard to find. Like the Decimo, great cigar, absolutely fantastic cigar from Crown Heads to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Los Calaveras line. I love that cigar, and everyone who smoked it that I know has loved that cigar except for Rick. Rick's like, it's just an okay cigar. But everybody else that I know that smoked have been like, this is great. It is a fantastic cigar. It's a cigar I smoked
Not a
on
fan
Christmas
of
Day.
LEs, that's all.
And it goes to availability. I think after doing this for a couple of years now, this top 10 list, I really feel like if it's going to be a true top 10, it should be widely available, right?
I just got a box of the. I've never had them, but speaking of LE and the availability, like I don't even know how I got it, but I got the 4-pack of the KKP God of Fire, Never Back Down, and that might not be in the reach of everybody else. So it's like I agree with the LE side. It's hard to compare those like that because you just can't get them.
No. And then you do the top 10 list. You're like, this was a great cigar this year. And then everyone's like, yeah, but I can't get it anymore.
See, I wouldn't mind LEs if it was a precursor to a production run. Like they're throwing it out there to see how everybody's going to, what they're going to say about it.
Yeah.
And then if they get a lot of positive feedback, then maybe they put that into the production run of the next year. But a lot of LEs, they just show up and they go away.
Yeah, and they go away. Annual releases, I'm okay with annual releases. And I think that sometimes annual releases, and I'll use the Signature as an example. The original Signature was amazing. That was our cigar of the year in 23. It was such a great cigar. But subsequent releases, in my opinion, have not lived up to what the original release was. And so there might be another annual release next year where it lives up to it or it's better, right? And so that annual releases I'm okay with like doing a redo, right? Because it's different every year. The Pony was in the running this year. From Castagli, the Daughters of the Wind Robusto was in the running for top 10, and that it's a different blend than what they had originally put out several years ago, and now it's back. It was re-released in November of 23, so it was eligible according to our rules. It just didn't make the list, but I was okay with that because it wasn't the same cigar. It was different. So there are exceptions to it, but yeah, I agree with you, Rick. If it's not something that's a precursor to a wider release, a regular production, I don't know if we're going to include those in the top 10. There'll be a top 3 for LEs this year. People went nuts this year for the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Umbagog Bronzeback, and that one just didn't grab my attention like it seemed to grab everybody else's. So maybe I have a shit palate.
No, it didn't grab me either.
But it's $8 though, you know what I mean? $8 or $9. I think that's kind of where a lot of that intrigue comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'd smoked the Polpetta, which is $7.50, 5 times before I'd smoked the Bronzeback.
Yeah,
and the original Umbagog is a great smoke for $8, but the Bronzeback, whatever.
I agree with you, Lou.
Sarah says boo a lot. Like just a lot.
Have any of you guys tried the Halligan release this year?
No.
From Dunbarton. It's kind of one of the Muestra de Saca lines. I'm trying to think of the
Filthy Gooligan.
I haven't had that one, but the Don Derma and the Halligan are 2 special releases. One's from Secreto, and then the other one's from maybe Rocky's Cigars. Yeah, Rocky's Cigars has the Halligan. If you haven't tried one of those, phenomenal Dunbarton annual release. It's
the annual release. The Golden Child, the Don Derma Golden Child.
Oh my God.
What's the one from Small Batch? The
Barbara Amarilla.
Amarilla, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good too. Yeah, that's really good. Hey, Small Batch still has it. Use coupon code Stogies, get 10% off, bonus 5% reward points.
There you go.
So you gonna go back to Lou's question, or what? What we just ignoring it, or what?
Did I ignore your
Nobody
question,
fucking
Lou?
remembers what it was.
Well, he asked,
I was just
cigar companies come out with cigars in the beginning of the PCA and stuff, and, and how they stay relevant. And I think the, there's two ways to answer that. You either make a good cigar that people are going to come back to throughout the year,
Timeless.
and it's just good on its own, or it's,
Well, like I said, we
you-
go back and we try to smoke it closer to when we release the list, so we know what's going on. So we kind of see, we recalibrate our palettes and are able to compare it. So I think I did answer that question. I mean, if the question was more, how do the manufacturers stay relevant throughout that time? They release a cigar in March. How do they stay relevant up until, that's marketing? Like, I think Lou does a really good job of, and I'm not just saying this because he's on here, I'm not blowing smoke, but when you go and look at his Instagram, he does a really good job of marketing grassroots, right? And then, he spends a little bit of advertising money with us, and, hopefully he sees that return on investment. So it's all about marketing. It's keeping it top of mind, all of that stuff. It's, I think
got a
that's on the
question.
manufacturer.
I got a question for Lou. Somebody in the comments had said that they loved the story behind Lure Cigars.
It's a great story.
I've never had one. I recently met you when we did our HERF the first time. Could you kind of maybe, I don't want to bore anybody, and if this is something that's been talked about a lot, then we could talk offline. But what's the kind of the backstory, real quick, on Lure Cigars?
Give you the 15-second version. My dad passed away at 90 years of age last year, and I created a cigar to honor his memory, and it grew out of that. But if you want to get the full story, I invite you to go to the Simply Stogies podcast, and there's a whole hour-plus long program.
Cool.
And I'll be happy to have a conversation with you offline.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you about it. But it's a tribute to my late father, and he and I both enjoyed smoking cigars and fishing, and so that's where the fishing motif came from out of it. But
Awesome.
it's a genuine story, and I think that when you say about marketing and about companies staying relevant, James, I think one of the most challenging things is for larger companies that have heritage, especially heritage companies. People know the story of Padron, people know the story of Fuente, and they're great stories, and they make great cigars. But when you connect with people on a personal level, and they can learn the story behind the cigar, there's a lot of other boutique companies that have got stories behind them. And I think that goes a long way. And that's why I think that it's that cigars are experiential. They are cigars that are great smokes that have no story, and they don't, I think, perform, or they don't smoke as well when you go out there, and you have to make your own experiences with those cigars and have their own memories with the things that don't have the story behind it. But I've made such strong connections with people because they identify with the moment of smoking a cigar with a friend or a family member, or an experience where they were out there and they caught a big fish, and so it just happens to be a very good pairing between the two experiences. But there's things with golf, and there's things with hunting, and there's things with other activities that are out there that cigars pair well with. That you've got to maintain authenticity in your storytelling. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that tell these stories which are complete baloney, that as a cigar consumer myself, not as a manufacturer, but as a consumer, I love a great story. But if the story is fantasy or fiction, it makes it very hard for me to sit there and enjoy the cigar as much, even if it's a great smoke.
Have you guys smoked any of the League of Fat Bastards cigars, or kind of know about their deal?
I've heard of them. I don't think I've ever smoked them.
Oh man, yeah. I got one in a cigar of the month, and they give I think it's 20% of their sales or whatever goes for mental health for men, and they have two cigars out right now, the L and the O line. And if you haven't tried them, I mean, they're a $10 cigar for a Toro. Absolutely an amazing daily option, and they give back to men's mental health. So for me, with my podcast and kind of my background, I don't know, it means a lot to me. They deserve a little attention. So if you haven't smoked one, try one.
There you go. That is
So
a,
to ask or add on to that, just because I'm curious of what your perspective is, I've kind of noticed this trend lately of cigar companies coming out and with just names that are not attractive at all. Like the League of Fat Bastards is not attractive.
A lot of us are
There's
fat.
nothing about. I'm just saying, there's nothing about the name that makes me want to smoke that cigar. And then my follow on to that is there's also this uprise of noticing that there's this, well, we're going to put so much money to this organization. It's almost like the company has to latch on to another organization to make themselves appear better. And again, I'm not trying to put anything down. This is just my perspective.
Yeah, there probably is a little bit of that going on. If they're truthfully doing what they say they're doing, and they make a good product, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. We all kind of help each other. We're all in it together, man. And it's a hard economy, and it's a hard time. And if you get benefit from me being around, or vice versa, and I'm in business, then great. But I could see where that could be distasteful, though, for sure. People riding pulling the veteran card or pulling this card, and I could see where a certain level of that would be distasteful for sure. I haven't noticed any other companies myself that have done that. Maybe you can enlighten me, but
No,
doesn't
I'm not
necessarily
trying to call anybody out or anything like that.
sure,
It's
No, there's
just
for
something
sure.
that I've noticed.
There are some
Okay.
great cigars that are out there, especially where, and they are making it a mission and part of their mission to support some type of charitable organization or some type of cause that's near and dear to them. And I give them all the props in the world. The ones that I'm, familiar with, like Silent Hero Cigars was mentioned in one of your comments. I smoked their cigars for the first time last month, and they're very good smokes. And what Bryce is doing with Silent Hero, and he gives back to veterans with PTSD, and they do that. I have done things myself, whereas I'm not aligned with any single charity. I make it an effort to where giving back is part of the experience. I mean, I think that there's been
Amen.
so much upswelling of support for my new brand. I've given to things like the Ohio Cigar Mafia has Dogs Inc., and they do a thing where Dogs Inc. is um, doing training from the absolute cradle of the dog to the absolute working dog. That they have a whole facility down in St. Pete, Tampa area down there, where they are giving dogs to veterans that need them for service dogs, and supporting them in their mission, and giving back to Toys for Tots through Cigar Army. You can make an effort, and I know that other manufacturers are doing this. I know Pete Johnson does a thing for his passion is with dogs as well, with Tatuaje. So I think you can give to organizations as a manufacturer and not necessarily be aligned with any single mission or
Sure.
mode. And I have, done personally, just tried to make an effort where I can make a difference, and if I can help support something, I think it's good karma, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it can be a bad thing that if you're simply making a cigar, and you don't put time and attention into the cigars. Make great cigars. I mean, do your best to make a cigar. That's at the end of the day, make a great cigar. Don't be the reason that I'm buying a cigar because of the ancillary mission. Make great cigars first that everybody can enjoy, and then the cigar revenue that you get from that, if you want to share some of that, more power to you.
Right. And I totally get when, manufacturers, everybody wants to help everybody. I totally get it. I think it's cool. There's a lot of great things out there, but it's, to me, it's when it comes across as, hey, I've got my cigar, you should try it. Oh, and by the way, I do this. Like,
Yeah.
to me,
kinda like-
now it's being used as a sales tagline. Like, you should buy and smoke my cigar because I give to a charity that you care about.
It's kind
I
of like
agree.
filming yourself give money to a homeless person and then posting it on
Yep.
the internet for
Exactly.
virtue signaling. And Padron, didn't they with the Legends collab, and they're like absurdly expensive Fuente Padron the Legends? Isn't the profit from that going to the Padron Foundation and the Fuente Foundation?
I think you might be right. I'm not 100% sure, but I think you might be
I
right.
think it is. I think all of the proceeds are, and they're like $170 a stick.
Yeah, they're not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We run over time a little bit. I want to thank everybody for sticking with us. I want to thank our guest, Stephen Houston, Dogs of War podcast, dogs_war _of_war_ podcast, Instagram. You can find it wherever podcasts are sold. They're not sold anywhere. They're free. You can go get it anywhere you want. Quantities aren't limited. If you were under that impression, I'm sorry. Real quick before we get out of here, I do want to go over this list one more time. Our top 10 list of 2024. Number 10, as I go to share the screen there, is the 601 La Bamba Warhead 10 by Espinosa Cigars. The Arsenio Toro by Aganorsa Leaf is our number 9. Number 8 is the Dragonfire by Punch. Number 7 is the Mastranza Valencia by Aromacraft. Number 6 is the Macanuda Emissaria España Toro. Number 5 is the McAuliffe Red Toro. Number 4, the Mean Gene from Lure Cigars. Great cigar. Go try it. Mini Henke is number 3 from Smoking Jacket Cigars. Number 2 is Las Calaveras Decimo Aniversario from Crowned Heads. And number 1, Oro de Nicaragua Toro Extra from Patina Cigars. Go to smallbatchcigar.com. Type simply up at the top in the search bar. You're going to get a sampler there that you can get. It's a 5-pack sampler. It's got 5 of the cigars, including the Cigar of the Year, including the Mini Henke, including that Warhead 10. All of them are great cigars. So go get that. Use coupon code Stogies, get 10% off. I want to thank our LE Club for showing out tonight. 2 of them, or 3 of them, I guess. Shauna, Brian Bolin from Smoldering Cigar, Livermore, Iowa. If you're ever in the Des Moines area, go check out Livermore. It's just a short 2-hour drive northwest of Des Moines. Great shop, better people. So check that out. And then smoke Lure Cigars. Smoke great cigars at Telltale Tales. Lure Cigars, Lou Cross, thanks so much. Supporter of the show, lifetime member, lifetime LE Club member. I want to thank Tim for coming on and half-ass producing this with me tonight. I half-ass produced it as well. So together we're a whole ass. And our one of our writers and friends, simplystogies.com. Jeff Dillingham, Jay Rigged. Thanks for jumping on, buddy. Appreciate it. I hope you all had a great new year. I want to thank you all. Remember, next week, I think the 8th, 5 short days from now, we talk about Sean Williams from Cohiba Behind His Back. Put it out there for everybody to listen to, including Sean if he so chooses. So check that out. If you haven't listened to the episode with Sean Williams, go listen to it. It's out now, wherever you get your podcast. Then coming up on the 15th, we've got Michael Herklotz from Furrio Tego. And of course, on the 22nd of this month, we'll talk about him behind his back as well. Put that out for everybody. Glad you all joined us tonight. Until next time, stay smoky, friends. Good job.